Okay, so here we are back again. Give you a quick pan of the garden. I've had quite a few questions already concerning some of the things that I've done, so I figured I would make another video using a little bit better quality camera, stabilizing it a bit more so it's not quite so shaky and choppy. So let's get to it. It's going to be a little bit longer than the last one. So first and foremost, questions I've been getting are about the black stuff all over the ground, the landscaping fabric. Now, you can see that it's on top of the boxes and it's on the rows underneath. Essentially, the biggest reason that I use this is because even though there are weeds growing through it, and that is going to happen, there's just nothing you can do to completely get rid of weeds. It really does, sit it down and stop about 90% of the stuff growing through. And when you're dealing with a space this large, you really need to do everything that you can, unless you have loads of help to really try and combat it and start it. Nip it in the bud before it really gets started. So, it is what it is. You will get some weeds, but it's important. Now, another question I had with the fabric, and we'll take a quick walk down here and check it out. It is literally just stapled on top of these boxes. Now, my strawberry bed over here, squirrels ate everything except for that one little guy right there in the middle. The other stuff is weeds. Unfortunately, they dug it all up. But what are you going to do? Something like this box, where strawberries are a running plant, they spread by roots, they stay year after year, that fabric will likely stay at the end of the season. The rest of the stuff, and the bell peppers and the hots here, for the tomatoes and everything else, in all likelihood, when I cut everything down at the end of the season to compost it, I will rip this fabric up. I don't know if I'll use a cover crop or I'll just replace it with new stuff. Yeah, it's still to be determined. We'll see how it goes. But then again, next year I'll just have to repurchase the stuff to go on top of the boxes, staple it down again, and it's back to square one. Now, another purpose that this fabric has served very well is I plant right through it. And in addition to keeping the weeds mostly down, I mean, you can see here there's really hardly anything. They don't grow up through the box. It makes it loads and loads easier to not have to deal with millions of weeds every day. But the water does seep through the fabric. Now, it doesn't go through super fast, but it does make it through. There's holes cut all over the place for the water to get through, but once it's in, it's trapped. The water pretty much stays there, and I would say I haven't watered this thing in about 3 weeks. We've gotten some rain, but for the most part, it really cuts down on what I need to do as far as watering. All of these here, these are all bell peppers. We'll start at the beginning. First 12 are bells. The second box has some hots and some super hots. We'll get to it here in just a second. They're all variety packs in the front, except for these last 4. These are chocolate bells, I know, that I've started. Here in the end, we've got some red habaneros. They're not actually Savinas. I think they're Caribbean red, something I got from Burpee. Now, these plants have done exceptionally well, although it's still only June, so we don't have any fruit set on these yet, but the flowers are started. You can see that little guy in there, and I'll expect to start seeing peppers growing here at any point in time. Next one's over, we have some cayennes, which are actually already pulling peppers. I've eaten a few of them, and they're much harder than I would have expected from a cayenne, but that's always good news. Following up, we have some ghost peppers here, and a few of these here are devil's tongues, fatalis. We have all kinds of different stuff going on, and this is mostly the hot section. As we go through, I have some Fajaro zones, some of the Hungarian paprikas, Cajun bells, etc., etc. The list goes on, but these are all my bells, with one little bee balm here interspersed into the middle. Hopefully this thing will start flowering out anytime and help me out. Now, over on this side, we've got the leafy greens, which haven't done exceptionally well, but then again, I planted them way too late. Most of that stuff is cooler weather crop, and it's not going to do what we would if it was done earlier or later in the season, but it's still there. Starting tomatoes. CRW cages. I was lucky enough to have someone who was able to procure this stuff for me, and although I got them started a little bit late, which you can see down the row, and I'll get that into a minute, or get to that in a minute. They really did a pretty good job with making these, and you know, I put them all together, and they've done well so far with supporting the tomatoes. I'm still debating on how I want to anchor them, but we'll see how they hold up after a thunderstorm, and you know, we'll get to it from there. All these tomatoes I started, well, at least the vast majority of them I started in a cold frame. They went out in middle of April maybe. But, you know, you can see them here. They're all pretty huge. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to reach this thing up high enough to get you a view of over top of them. They're getting up to about 7 feet tall now, give or take 6 or 7. And what you're looking at here is either Super Sweet 100 or Honey Bunch, and I don't remember specifically which ones are on this side, but I have a list, and you know, one of these times I make another video, I'll actually be educated on which is which. So, tomatillos, these didn't set fruit initially, but they've actually finally started to come around, and focus is a bit slow, but they're doing okay. Of course, I have hundreds and hundreds of flowers, but they were slow starting for getting pollinated, and it looks like now they're finally coming around. Roma's here. And these are the small guys, but we are starting to get fruit all over the place, and I don't know if you can see back in there, but there are certainly a lot of Romas. I have 12 more here. These went in June 1st, just as small plants, and well, that's 2 weeks ago, and they've already probably quadrupled in size, so it seems like everything's doing pretty well. With the bean trellis real quick, I just put this up a couple days ago. I've got over here, these are all Kentucky Blue. On the close side down there I have Purple King, and on the other side there are Lima beans. I did this, I had a lot of different thoughts of how I wanted to do the bean trellis, and what I ended up doing was just getting 2x4s. I screwed them directly to the sides of the box down there, and then up top, to help support the weight a little bit better, I took another 12-footer, put it vertically like an I-beam, and you can see it's screwed in with 3 screws on that side. And so as you go down, you know, it's not really bowing, it doesn't have that much weight on it, but I think that it should be fairly well anchored and do the job. Now at the bottom here, these are just stapled in. It's fairly inexpensive trellis netting. It's like $3 for a pack, and there's 3 on here. So it's, you know, it's pretty effective. We'll see how it goes once it starts to get under load from all these beans, but I'm pretty confident that's going to hold up, at least initially, and if there's something else I have to do, then I'll figure it out. You can hit the 4th of July tomatoes right here, because I do have one that's red. We'll go ahead and take a look, see if I can find this little guy. There he is. Alright, got a couple starting. Very early. I mean, they're listed as a hybrid that's supposed to be very early maturing, but it's not quite 4th of July, and I've been picking red ones for about a week or so. Back to the bells. Do have one started, little yellow guy here, and there it is, or at least it will be. I have the herb box, an extra 4 Romas. I have all said and done, I have 22 Roma bushes, and that's mostly because a friend of mine owns a pizza store and wants some tomatoes and basil from me, so I'm gonna see what I can do. Take a visit over here to the eggplants. These first 2 here are just standard Black Beauty. Don't have any fruit set on these guys, unfortunately, but we do have a nice little flower going on. So we'll see how it goes. I had a problem last year with not getting too many fruits from the eggplant, but I think we'll be doing a little better here. These are Turkish Orange. You see the little tiger stripe guys here. They're very small, they stay green, and when they mature they turn orange. And then a few other ones that I ordered, which I unfortunately don't even know what they are. Eventually here will be cantaloupes and pumpkins and some other odds and ends, but with all this stuff I've kind of fallen behind in getting my stuff done properly. But we do have a big hybrid zucchini. It's about 6 feet wide at this point. It's got the splotches on there, and I'm not really sure if that's mosaic or not, but the plant has had them since go, and it's really done pretty well anyway, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. You know, we have a few that need to be picked, and it does need to be weeded, but we definitely have zucchini. And then the yellow butterstick squash, which is interesting just because it grows as a single vine instead of a more of a bushy thing like that guy. But we've got some started right there, and you know, an orange color to the flowers, which you don't see. Those are a little more yellow. So let's get to watering real quick, because this is actually an important thing and I didn't touch on it in the first video. Starting there, you can see, oh, on the deck, my ADD is kicking in. I put this deck together 2 days ago because I like to have a sitting place. So table and chairs are coming with an umbrella, but not in place yet. So this hose comes down from the house. First thing you see here is the main shutoff valve, which there's another valve up top. Either way, I can keep the line charged and it's okay. Now there's a backflow preventer there because I do have the capability and the tank for inline fertilization. That's something that I felt was important. I didn't do it last year. I actually top watered, which was awful. We'll get to that. So from here, because I'm running all soaker hoses, I have a pressure regulator. What that allows me to do is basically keep it right around 12 to 14 psi, which is what these hoses are designed to handle. Found out that it's very important, fortunately before I ran them, to keep the pressure low. Otherwise you're going to end up splitting your hoses and you're going to have a mess. Now right here we've got the box control. This valve, excuse me, the splitter goes to these two separate valves. Now this first 4 set here covers these 4 rows over here, and the second set there that has 5 covers the bean box, those 3 rows, and this other little box right here. Now what I did was I put splitters right here because running 4 boxes in line really stretch the capacity of what you can do effectively with soaker hoses. So what this allows me to do is that valve on the left, the little green knob, controls the first 2 boxes right here. This hose runs up and goes to the second set of 2 boxes. If the whole row needs water, then I just simply leave both valves open. If one or the other needs water, then I close one or the other. However, what this allows me to do is centrally control the water from right here, so I can sit here and drink a beer while I water my garden and not really have to worry about it. Now the other importance of the soaker hoses, I got the nylon ones. Some are Gilmore, some are another brand. It's essentially the same general idea as using a drip system. But for me, this was more effective and it was more cost effective because I don't feel like digging pipes and drip, you know, and putting in drip lines. So while you have a little bit better control with that, this is much more flexible. It's been very effective all the way through. And the thing is, even with this on top of the fabric, what will happen is as it drips, it either soaks through or runs into holes that I have cut. And again, once it's under that fabric, it is trapped and the water is in there. Speaking of that, all these boxes, they're all 4x12. Each one is filled with mushroom soil down to about where ground level was. Now I have, you know, I'm fortunate in that I have gravelly loam as the base soil underneath it, so that it works, you know, very, very well, and the soil is fertile. However, the addition of the mushroom soil, along with the landscaping fabric stuff, was an idea of my very helpful cousin. When she and I talked during my 6-month planning and research phase, it ended up being that. You know, it took 12 yards, is about 12,000 pounds. I brought it all down here, 1 wheelbarrow at a time, and it took me about a week solid to get all of these boxes filled. However, it seems to be that so far, at least, the result has been well, fairly impressive, and it seems to be well worth the time and effort. Now, I've heard issues of, you know, too much salt in mushroom soil and not enough macronutrients, and that's fine. You know, if your NPK is a little low in soil, that's very easy to amend in a lot of different ways. I have liquid fertilizer that I can run through the soakers, and, you know, if I have any kind of a deficiency. But the important thing is mushroom soil One is almost 100% organic matter. It's not quite broken down to the level of humus yet, but it's close. And additionally, it holds water very well, and it's got micronutrients. I am loaded down with calcium and magnesium here right now. It's still in balance. Everything is doing well, and those are a little bit more difficult to amend in proper proportions. So again, I'm not a soil scientist. However, evidence, at least that I have here, of my 6-7 foot tall tomatoes are they're loving it so far. Let's touch on the corn. This is all Breeder's Choice, sugar enhanced. First planting, you can see the bigger stalks there. We had a warm March and then a couple freezes in April, so the majority of this box died. Few survived. I had to replant it, started over again, but it's coming along slowly but surely. Second box here, this will be Ruby Queen. I'm getting ready to plant this week. And then the third box, I might do half and half. I haven't decided yet. But the reason for staggering this, as many people know, if you plant all of your corn at the same time, you harvest all of your corn at the same time, and then you're left with too many ears and not enough people to eat them. So by staggering it this way, it helps extend the harvest throughout the rest of the summer. I think I've covered most of the questions that I had. The fabric in between these boxes is tucked underneath, but it doesn't go all the way under the boxes. It's just dirt under there that was tilled, and then mushroom soil basically placed on top of it. Now this whole area that we're walking through here was all lawn in March. I literally came down here with the big tiller and the little tiller and tilled this entire area. It's about 3,000 square feet, 1,000 feet of box space. Turned it all over, did all of this stuff, built the boxes, well, bought the lumber, carried the lumber, built the boxes, yada yada yada. I've done about 97% of this labor by myself. It's been quite a bit of work. But all of this, again, all of this was lawn. Now it's all garden. And, you know, we're getting there. Not really sure if there was anything else. I'm sure I've forgotten about 15 different things that people asked, but you know, I don't really think that I'm the guy to be teaching you all of these things about the garden, but I did my homework at least, and if there's anything else I can help out with, any questions you have, more than happy to do it, or more than happy to do it. So, thanks guys, glad you watched, good luck and good gardening, thanks.